Okay, playing another very talented team this weekend, playing on the road. Their only losses have been to Ole Miss and Alabama, two very quality opponents. Offensively, they're as talented as anybody we've played at the skill position. They've got a true freshman quarterback in the Murray kid that is dynamic with his feet. Was a great high school player we're very familiar with. We actually recruited him, and he's somebody that that'll get your attention with his feet. Defensively, John Chavis has made a big difference. You know, he kind of has his stamp on there. They're playing very hard. They have two defensive ends that I think are as good as anybody in our league, and they're definitely two guys you got to be aware of from an offensive standpoint. You know, our talk with our staff and our players is we've got to find a way to put together our offense and our defense and special teams and play good in all three areas, and that's our goal moving forward. And that's what we're going to need to do to beat a team like this on the road. On another note, Stanton Truitt is out for the year. He is going to have surgery on Thursday. It's been really tough on him. You know, he's battled a lot of injuries. He's a great kid. You know, I definitely feel for him, and you know, he's a dynamic type player with his feet. You know, that'll be tough on us not to have, you know, the rest of the year.
Is that the same shoulder as last year?
Yes.
Initial thoughts on Myles Garrett. As you say, he's one of the more talented guys. He thinks the most productive pass rusher in the league. Just what makes him that good? Yeah,
you know, you could tell last year's a true freshman. He just he has that it factor. I mean, if he knows his pass, he makes it extremely challenging on you. And last year, you know, he made one of the difference-making plays in our game when he blocked the field goal. He's actually blocked a punt this year. He's just got he just got a knack. He's a playmaker. He's somebody that you got to be aware of from an offensive standpoint because he can change the game.
Sean Coleman struggled with him last season. I mean, how confident are you with that matchup this year?
Yeah, you know, he did, and you know, that'll be a big matchup for the game. You know, Sean's has a year experience under his belt, so hopefully that'll help. But that'll be a big matchup.
How was Sean like?
What's that?
How's Sean like?
Yeah, he's still a little banged up, but we expect him to play. You know, he showed a lot of guts and a lot of toughness, you know, because we really were prepared for him not to play. And we got there in pregame, and, you know, he was very determined. I'm ready to go. I can do it. But it's still a little sore, but we expect him to play this week.
How much do you think he can practice?
You know, I think that's going to be the question. I mean, we'll see how he does. I expect him to practice more than he did last week. You know, I think we're at that point, you know, knowing more about, you know, what's wrong with him and all that, and knowing a little bit more about him. So we expect him to practice more than he did last week.
Where's Jonathan? Will Jonathan Wallace be the other quarterback?
He is getting reps in practice. We gave Jonathan reps. Him and Jeremy got the majority of the reps last week in practice. Right. And so we'll continue to keep giving Jonathan Wallace reps at quarterback if he's needed. He'll also, you know, split time at wide receiver too, but just moving forward, that's what we're thinking.
Coach, I'm sure different guys coming in at quarterback in the last game, a lot of those predicated on Sean being a little bit banged up, but seeing different guys come in there, do you think that was disruptive to the offensive rhythm at all?
You know, that's always something you've got to be aware of, but you know, with the plan that we had moving forward with the information we had, we felt like there were certain things that even if Sean could play, we needed Jeremy to be able to do. And also Jeremy had the whole package of the offense too. And you know, KJ's going to be a Wildcat guy moving forward. I mean, we really think that he's got some skills that you know, we talked about last week, even expanding that package. So moving forward, not just this year but next year, you know, he'll be a very good Wildcat guy.
Because he hasn't played a lot in the second half of several games after doing some stuff in the first half. Is there any particular reason for that? Yeah, you know, just looking at it, he's the type of guy that needs to be on the field more, and not just in the second half, but the first half too. So we got to do a better job of getting him on the field more.
What is Peyton Barber's status right now? And with him in the injury last week, how is the running back lineup kind of?
Yeah, well, Peyton, we expect him to play this week. There was some questions going into the game. You know, didn't practice a lot and all that, but we do expect him to play. Javon is a guy that gave us a shot in the arm. I think everybody saw that. You know, he did some good things, and so you know, he'll have a bigger role, but at the same time, you know, we'll see once we get into practice and how everybody's doing.
Gus, what has it been about this series that seems to kind of define the season for both teams after this game? And you don't have a very long history with them, but for whatever reason, the last couple of years, it's really defined the season.
Yeah, you know, you're exactly right. You know, the first year, you know, we went there. We were a team that were still trying to figure out who we were, and that was a big win. And they were playing very good at the time. Last year, you know, towards the end, we had the fumble going in, then we had the fumbled exchange there at the very end when we fought back, and you know, that was definitely a tough loss. So, you know, this is it seems like they're very talented again. We're playing at third place, and we need to play well. And that's kind of what I was saying early on, that we got to get our offense and our defense to play well at the same time, and we've not done that yet. And so that's our goal, and that's what we're talking about from a coach's standpoint in our players.
Guys, how's Austin Golson doing at center? Is he making some progress?
You know, we felt like Austin had his best game overall last week, and they did some things up front that definitely caught your attention. So for him to have his best game against that group, you know, I thought that really said some things that could give him some confidence the rest of the year. And keep in mind, this is his first year to play center, and so, you know, that was very encouraging, and I think he's very encouraged too.
Were there a couple of throws that you'd rather Jeremy not have thrown? Seemed like he forced the ball a couple of times.
You know, I mean, one of the bigger plays in the whole game was the one to Tony Stevens, and you know, he put it about where it could only be, and then, you know, it was kind of it was off the Wildcat, and they played it pretty good off a trick play. So that was a big time throw, I felt like. And the other one at the end, you know, he's just trying to make a play. I mean, you know, he'll come back next time and he'll hit his check down, but you know, he's just trying to make a play for us.
When you're subbing out Sean and Jeremy in that last game, I know it was obviously because Sean was banged up, but did that have any effect on the offensive rhythm? You know, kind of.
Well, I think that's the question he asked up there. I mean, you know, at times it could. There was one time that I think that Sean's knee brace was broke and had to come out and come back in, but you know, that's you know, that's just the way it was last week. And you know, when Sean we didn't know if he was going to play, that was our plan. And but I'll say this: we got confidence in Jeremy. Jeremy's practiced better and well and all that, and if he's got to play, he's going to play well. And that's our mindset, and I know that's his mindset.
Gus, Tony Stevens makes that play. He's made a couple plays the last 2 weeks. How important is that for you guys to see him?
Yeah, Tony's a guy that we've been kind of waiting on, and the last few weeks you can see he's been more in the game plan, and he's practiced extremely well, and he's starting to get that confidence, and so that's encouraging for us moving forward, because he's a big, you know, tall, fast guy, and so I really like where he's at, you know, the last few games.
What did you see when you went back and watched the red zone? Because you guys have been so good the last 3 weeks. What did you see last week that was a little bit different?
Yeah, you know, we had the close one to Ricardo. It was a boom play that one of our timing throws. You know, as a coach, when things don't work out, I mean, we got to do a better job putting them in position to be successful in the red zone, and that was really the thing that stood out that you know, we've got to get better in. And I got to do a better job calling plays down there too. You know, you can always say what if and all that, but the bottom line is when you don't score touchdowns, from a coach's standpoint, we got to help them, and that starts with me. And so that's a focus that you know, we're really working hard on that moving forward. And you know, at times this year we've been pretty good down there, and so but we got to be more consistent, especially when you're playing the top teams in your league, and 1 or 2 plays can make a difference in the game. And really, that's what happens Saturday.
How do you think your offensive line's been performing in the red zone when they get there in tight spaces?
Yeah, you know, I think overall, from a season standpoint, I think our line has performed solid. Obviously, when you're playing against you know, better teams, you know, you've got to raise your level too. But at times, I think our guys have done that.
How do you look at the red zone calls and the touchdowns aren't coming? I mean, does it get frustrating for you? Is there maybe a tendency sometimes to almost force it when it comes to calling the plays?
You know, I think it goes back to, you know, you get a plan, and if the plan doesn't work, I mean, you got to come up with another plan. And you know, we just didn't, for whatever reason. And like I said, I'm going to take responsibility on that. We've got to figure out a way to get in the end zone. You know, whether it's throwing or running or whatever. And we didn't do it Saturday. And so that was a big factor in the game. And if we'd have got one touchdown, I think we had one that was either called back or close, but we got to get in the end zone, and so that's our focus.
Guys, what's the setup between you and Rhett on calling those plays? I mean, does he suggest and you call, or does he?
Yeah, it's a little both. I mean, it's the same system that we've used for a long time, and you know, we lean on each other, we think alike, and so. But like I said, bottom line is we didn't get in the end zone down there.
And y'all were just discussing it back and forth, basically.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Do you look at 2 for 15 on third down as you put yourself in bad spots on first and second down, or was the execution in gettable third downs just poor?
You know, when you go 2 for 15, I mean, I think we were leading the league in third downs, and so you know we felt good about the plan, the way we operate, and all that. But we just got to get them, and so I think it's a little bit of all the above. I mean, there was some third down and 10 plus, and anytime you're always trying to stay out of that. You know, our philosophy usually is 3rd and 10 plus. We don't want to get beat. We don't want to turn the ball over. That's when a lot of turnovers come and all that. But you know, we got to do better than 2 for 15 when you're playing one of the top teams in your league. So you know that we'll keep working hard for that.
Gus, I know at this point in the season you would never usually do best on best, but is there any thought that the fact you have Carl Lawson, he can really kind of replicate some of what Miles Garrett can do? Most teams don't have that luxury. Yeah,
we go fastballs every week against our ones-on-ones, and we usually do it, you know, for 10 to 15 minutes during the week, and we'll continue to do that. And that's been, you know, our philosophy for a long time. But you're exactly right, Carl is a factor, and you know, there's no doubt.
Is he physically, did he come through the game okay?
Yeah, came through it great. He just said, I am a little out of shape, and so you know, he'll get in better shape as he goes. But I think that really helped him confidence-wise, and he's healthy and ready to go.
How hard is it for players to keep getting up and coming back from disappointment and keep the edge you need to have?
Yeah, I think it's hard, but it starts with leadership, and it starts with relationships between players to players, coaches to players, and we're going to keep battling. And we just got to figure out a way to get our offense and our defense to play well during the same game, and I think we can play with anybody if we do that.
Gus, the first college football playoff rankings coming out tonight, obviously Auburn will not be in it. Considering the preseason expectations, how does that feel at this point in the season that you're not in contention?
You know, all you worry about is Texas A&M and winning that game, and you know, that doesn't even cross my mind.
Coach,
what's the go ahead.
You said last night that we got to get to a bowl game, and that's certainly obvious from that perspective. But does the pressure just kind of naturally build a bit when the wins aren't coming?
You know, we're focused on Texas A&M, and we need to play well to be able to beat a good Texas A&M on the road, and that's our only focus, and that's what we're talking about, and that's what we're preparing for.
I know you got Will on that, but did Carl play more snaps than maybe you anticipated, or did you feel like he was just full go and he would?
Yeah, no, I think it was about appropriate.
Coach, you had said you're trying to get the offense and defense to play well at the same time. What's the closest game that you've seen them do that?
You know, I mean, it was that's probably a good question. I mean, I don't think I think everybody will know when we play good offensively and defensively at the same time, and we haven't done that yet.
Yes, I know it seems like I asked a lot of special teams questions, but I mean, we heard
with the wind.
But you know, we heard you say no. We heard you say preseason camp that you were comfortable with Daniel kicking it from 60. But have even you been impressed how good he's been this season?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, what did he do? Break the school record? You know, last week, 4 field goals plus 50. I know from a coaching staff standpoint, we got a lot of confidence in him. You know, when it crosses the 35 or around the 35-yard line, I mean, he's going to have a high success rate. He's done a great job. And if you really look at the kickoffs too, he's got to be one of the best place kickers in college football. And I think at the end of the year, I think everybody will see he'll be up for all those awards and all that, and I think that'll be very warranted.
What's the latest on TJ Davis?
TJ's still not quite ready to roll. You know, we were hoping he would a couple weeks ago, but still has a few setbacks.
All right, Coach. Thank you.
Thank you.